artists together on secularsounds.org.
Hi, this is Mick Bannister, and thanks for joining me for some plain talking. With me in the Departure Lounge is Izabela Ciesinska, or Izzy for short, award-winning illustrator, writer and filmmaker. When Izzy was 7, her family moved to Canada, where she discovered libraries, books, and to her delight, Disney cartoons. Her ambitions as an animator evolved into filmmaker, and many broken pencils and torn-up pictures later, Izzy has illustrated over 30 books, as well as written, directed and produced a short film called Need. But before we delve into any of that, I began by asking Izzy about her life as a little girl in Poland and her dramatic and perilous move to Canada. Please note that some of the recording has been done using Skype, so the sound quality may be affected in parts.
I do. I remember my early years in Poland, and I remember the move. And I mainly remember how different it was, because at the time Poland was a communist country under a military occupation. So it was a stressful move, and it was a very liberating experience once we landed first in Austria and then in Canada.
Right, so I presume you came over with your parents, did you? Did they move was that for political reasons, or was it to find work?
It was for both. Mainly, I think, for political reasons, because my parents in Poland, they were, doing well for themselves, but because it was communist, the value of the money was very little, and even though my parents had some money, they weren't able to spend it because there was nothing to buy. I remember walking into just a local grocery store, and the shelves were completely empty. So I think that's when my parents decided to move. And I was 5 at the time, so yeah, I was kind of dependent on them. It was their choice.
Right, so at that age, so you can just about remember it, I would guess then.
I really, truly, I remember everything. Oh, right. I even remember crossing the border because it was illegal to leave, so my parents weren't allowed to talk about it, and I talked about it to the villagers, which I got in a lot of trouble for my parents. So we actually fled the country before anybody important noticed. But we had to make it look like it was a vacation. So my parents left all their belongings and everything, and they told me that we're actually going to grandma's. Because if they told me that we were leaving the country, I would have told everybody. And we would have ended up in jail instead. So I thought we were going to grandma's, and the next thing I remember, we were, surrounded by guards, and they were holding weapons and stuff, and they actually thought we were going for vacation, so they let us go, and we haven't been back since. That was in 1987.
To move on a few years then, so you obviously went to school in Canada, but you got a scholarship down to Florida. How did that come about?
Oh, well, it was a strange, actually, road, because I started training tennis in order to fix a physical handicap. I had an issue with my hips, and so a doctor recommended that I start playing sports. And my father helped me pick up tennis, and I became very good very quickly. And I kept it up for a few years, and in order to get an education, I started applying for scholarships. And a university in Florida accepted me, and I went there for 4 years.
What did you actually study? So you got down there on the tennis scholarship, but you must have been studying something else as well.
Yep, I was studying criminal forensics and profiling.
All right. So did you ever get to use that when you left university?
I did. I ended up using it mainly in my writing. It really helps in character development. Halfway through my university studies, I realized that criminal forensics is not for me. I'm a really, I don't want to say happy person, like I'm a normal person, but I really enjoy, animation and happy things, and criminal forensics was focused mainly on the, the bad things that people do. So I knew I couldn't pursue that, but whatever I learned really actually helped in my arts when it comes to writing.
Well, that's a good lead into the next part of the interview. So if we let's listen to the first track on your iPlayer. So what song is it, and why is this significant?
I chose 17 Years by Rat Tat Tat. That was released in 2004, and I really like this song because it really captures basically most of what my average mood is, which is a very happy, upbeat song. If I needed a theme for Izzy, I think this song would be it.
That's great. Okay, thanks, Izzy. Let's listen to track one, and it's Rat Tat Tat with 17 Years.
I've been rapping for about 17 years, okay? I don't write my stuff anymore. I just kick it from my head, you know what I'm saying? I can do that. No disrespect, but that's how I am.
together on seclosounds.org.
Rat Tat is a New York City experimental electronic rock duo. 17 Years was the group's first single and was recorded in a New York apartment on a laptop. The band are currently recording their fifth album, aptly named LP5. After discussing Izzy's amazing childhood and time at college, we moved on to discuss her early career choices.
I lined an internship up for myself in Toronto with a production company, a film production company. That was not a paid job, but in the meantime, I also submitted some of my artwork to a publisher here in Toronto. And about 3 weeks after submitting, I got my first real book, my published book.
I know some people spend years trying to get agents and things, but that seems like a good first break.
It was a great first break. It was a real publisher. It wasn't like a self-publishing service, so that was good. But it didn't pay a lot, and it didn't really lead to a lot of money very quickly. It still is, an uphill thing, because you're always looking for jobs. You're on a client-by-client basis, so it's still a long way to go.
That was an illustration. Your first job was illustrating. What happened after that? How did you move on?
Well, after that, I realized I really need to build a better portfolio. I need to learn how to work on the computer. There's a lot more freedom on a computer. So I started doing that. I started expanding my portfolio in illustration and kept on submitting my work to different publishers and different clients, and just started expanding my clientele from there on. And in the meantime, also with every project, trying to improve my work and get better and better with every book that I do.
Right, so you had clients and you were doing illustrations for them. You weren't writing your own books as such at that point.
That's correct. At that time, I was mainly doing work for other people, and I still am. That's actually all of my income comes from freelance and contract work. But I started writing my own stuff that I want to illustrate actually shortly. It'll be a while before it's released, but I'm ready to start illustrating my own stories.
Right, okay, we'll come on to that in a minute. So you started illustrating. What kind of things do you like to draw? I mean, does it depend really on what the client is after, or do you go for the work that suits the kind of things that you like to draw?
It's a little bit of both because, people are paying me to bring their vision to life, so I need to honor that. But at the same time, I have my own style and my own heart, the things that I prefer to draw. So I try to blend that together. So to every book that I'm commissioned to illustrate, I try to bring characters that I really love. And, my trademark is the large heads, the big eyes, very expressive features. So I try to do that with every project.
I know some people, start off with a pen and paper or pencil and draw and then fill in afterwards. I mean, what kind of method do you have for drawing?
I start that way as well. I grew up with traditional illustration, so pencil for me, pencil and paper are second nature. And even though I can sketch on a digital tablet now, I choose to sketch on a paper with a pencil first, then I scan it, and then I render it digitally.
What would you say is your proudest achievement to date in illustrating?
My proudest achievement to date, I would say the last book that I illustrated, it's called Mommy Has a Boo-Boo in Her Boob, and it's about a young mother that overcame breast cancer, and in the same time she has to take care of 3 children. And I had a chance to meet the author. I became very good friends with the author, and the publisher is a publisher whose work I really like. And that book just brought out the best in me. So it's going to be released soon, and I will share it on my social networks.
Oh, right. Will we be able to get that in the UK, do you think?
Oh, yes. It'll be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on the publisher's website, I think.
Okay, let's have some more music. So track number 2, which one is that, and why this one in particular?
That is One by U2. And the reason I chose that is because I really like it when an artist uses their art to improve the world somehow. And I think Bono and U2 really are the model for that kind of artistry.
That's great. Okay, let's go and we'll listen to U2 with One.
Is it getting better? Or do you feel the same? Will it make it easier on you now? You got someone to blame. You say one